Spoiler warning. Hey guys, what's up? Aru. The Abyss's final form, a sovereign dragon eroded by abyssal corrosion, and Mavuika's final push to save Natlan for the past 499 years. The border between life and death, which is the main focus of the latest patch, revealing Hu Tao's secret rite with the Changshang funeral parlor, the Night Kingdom's stored memories and history that's highlighted through Citlali's quest, and finally the new meaning for the sacred flame, since defeating the Abyss would not only defeat the reason for war in Natlan, but also make fighting and preparing for Night Warden wars have no clear meaning. This is everything we know about Natlan's upcoming 5.3 patch, which includes the animation teaser about Mavuika and every detail that I could squeeze out from this special program. So timestamps will be down below for specific segments. Now be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as hit the bell if you want to see more of these videos. Now, let's get started. The preparation for Natlan's final war isn't just a war to defeat the Abyss, but a war to end all wars, both past, present, and future. If you could remember the deal between Xbalanque and Ronova, Natlan was made to be the nation of war where winners will burn bright and the losers must turn to ash. This isn't just a rule to make people become Archons through winning, but also to make losers in an actual war completely removed from existence and turning into ash, unable to be reformed by the Abyss. That and the special ability to revive fallen comrades through the sacred flame, which bypasses the rule of death to some degree, if you win. The Abyss isn't a simple enemy after all, and the game as well as the special program mentions again and again that the Abyss is a cunning foe, a deceptive and clever foe that takes worlds as memories and uses it against them. And Mavuika's plan to snapshot moments of heroes from 500 years ago and getting people from today to inherit that moment is the edge that will carry the power of that moment to defeat the Abyss together. From Menelik's ability to strangle the Black Beast even in death, to Pac's drive to save Mavuika in his final moments, Burkina's price of fighting alone to save his companions, and even Sanhaja's power to create a miniature Night Kingdom, all of which are likely abilities and personality traits that the current awakened heroes possess. So you can expect these heroes to valiantly fight just as their ancestors did 500 years ago, as if they never really died. And that includes Mavuika and Xbalanque. Capitano never sleeps, and it's honestly a given at this point since he's a cursed Khaenri'ah soldier. If you remember from Dainsleif and Clothar, the curse itself can never let them get a full rest, and maybe even not let them rest at all. Clothar wishes to just lay down and sleep without ever waking up, and Dainsleif says his curse claws at him at all times, while Capitano still probably sees his comrades as lingering souls around him to this day. Particularly for Capitano though, I think his mission isn't just to save Natlan and its people simply because he saw what happened in Khaenri'ah, but he's also likely carrying the souls of his people to find a final resting place, and by extension maybe even his resting place, since the corrosive effects of their curse paired with his righteousness and sheer force of will to carry his fallen comrades with him, he might literally be on his final legs, just barely hanging onto his own life. But helping Mavuika is the key to it all. Letting his people rest in a land unknown to them, or even letting him get some good sleep, is quite a peaceful night to end on. Now for this part of the trailer. 汝の想像をはるかに超えるものだが汝はその手で世界の希望を握りつぶしたこの地はどんな結末を迎えるかなんて一切興味はない This is obviously the conversation or heated debate between Xbalanque and Ronova. Xbalanque highlighting the importance of Descenders was both surprising and unsurprising at the same time. Unsurprising in that Descenders have the power to change world's fate, and surprising in that Descenders might call forth drastic change and war, which is for some reason what Xbalanque wants. A Descender's remains right now are the Gnosis, which Skirk calls objects of misfortune. Whether or not both of those are good or bad things is up to your interpretation. What I didn't expect was Ronova saying that she had no use for this world. That and the weird voice that Ronova had compared to when we first heard her. This sounds more like a digital recording or an ethereal voice rather than their actual conversation. But this doesn't change the fact that Ronova said it herself. One theory is that Ronova and Xbalanque's deal was found out by the principal, so they had to make up a reason and seem innocent. The other is the possibility that Celestia and the Shades have left Teyvat at some point in time, leaving all of humanity as well as all life in Teyvat to fend for themselves. A terrifying thought which could explain Celestia's dormancy for the past 500 years. There are no gods here, only monsters. Funnily enough, if you follow the lore and how character quests and Archon quests connect to each other, you can see that Mavuika's character quest is about making a new meaning for the pilgrimage of the Sacred Flames return, which means that we might have already defeated the Abyss in the Archon quest. It's not a spoiler if the trailer spoiled itself, right? Anyway, Mavuika's quest as the Blazing Sun reflects not only her status as the Pyro Archon, but as the sun that shines bright amidst the threat of the Abyss, as well as being the most powerful human in the world. His words, not mine. And now that the true foe has been defeated, war can have no meaning, and the Night Warden Wars would likely be no more. So in this new era, Mavuika is redefining the pilgrimage as probably a tournament to test the limits of humans and their power. Oh yeah, and we also get to meet a funny Xiuhcoatl that has the same potty mouth as Xiuhcoatl. If I were to make a guess, however, this Xiuhcoatl is from Ifa, and is the same Saurian that destroyed Ororon's garden during that one time. Mavuika's constellation, Kyongozi, means leader, and just like her final mission, she leads her people to the future that they wish for. That, and because she's also a human, understanding the struggle of humanity against the various elemental powers and dangers of Tevat. Her motorcycle is apparently called a Flame Strider and has the dragon head aura right in front, quite similar to the dragon boss we fight, but with completely pyro-colored eyes. Pyro Traveler actually has a point in this region compared to the others, because in Natlan, the Traveler couldn't be blessed with Pyro since not only are we Outlanders of Natlan, but we also don't have any records of deeds written in the Night Kingdom, which is a ley line that's made specifically for Natlan. So to make it work, we need to have the people of Natlan write stories for us instead of simply interacting with the normal ley line memory flows from other region through the statues. It's also interesting that our ancient name will become the turning point of the story, likely saving Mavuika from air quotes death. This is important because we're descenders who don't apply to the rules of Celestia, which makes winning the battle against Xiuhcoatl allow for Mavuika to also win, or that our ancient name will be the one to take Mavuika's place, replacing Kyongozi with, I don't know, Paimon or something. The blazing flint ore is likely for our pyro constellations, and that the lines and glowing tattoos on our person are quite similar to the stars and lines on our character arts, reflecting a Night Soul blessing that's completely unique to us and tailor-made by Paimon's secret details. As we've established before, the Abyss is a very cunning foe because it uses the memories it takes from Irminsul and uses it against its enemies in the most twisted ways. But the Abyssal hierarchy also determines what memories it can harvest and which forms it can take shape. And if you're the most powerful Abyssal monster, which is the Abyss itself, it's only natural that you can mimic the most powerful elemental creature, the Dragon Sovereigns. The Lord of Eroded Primal Fire, the Slain Dragon Molded, is an emulation of the Pyro Sovereign Xiuhcoatl, likely after he was awakened long ago. This awakening could be when Nibelung came back with the power of the Abyss, making for a malformed Pyro Sovereign partially eroded by the Abyss. If you notice the dragon's eyes, the other half is still Pyro while the other is glowing with abyssal power. This shows how simple and cunning the Abyss is by copying the perfect weakness for Mavuika, which is pure pyro strength and abyssal corrosion. But because we as the travelers are here to help, we can at least alleviate the Abyss part by vacuuming it up, while Mavuika focuses on brute forcing Xiuhcoatl's face with Pyro and the power of death. In a sense, cleansing the Abyss filth with Pyro, just like Hu-Tao's cleansing of the Tao Dou tree. This is by far the most accurate depiction of a sovereign dragon in the game compared to the drakes and bishop kings that we usually see. But we've already seen ancient dragons briefly in Xiuhcoatl through Xiuhcoatl Ubakan. Both of them also resemble a Pep, the Dendro dragon, as well as Weenuts, which are the servants of the dragons. The wings of the Eroded dragon also look the same as Venti's Archon wings, meaning time. This means that Celestia might have mimicked the design of dragons when they first made Archons using the Descenders' remains. The word spoken by this Abyss abomination is a skewed mix of what sounds like Xbalanque or Xiuhcoatl. This is ominous since Xbalanque in the Mayan myth has a sibling, Hunahpu. And if our theories from before Natlan even released are correct, Hunahpu could actually be Xiuhcoatl and that they're both dragon siblings instead. But Xbalanque chose to side with humans, the same way Xiuhcoatl also sided with humans. The animated teaser actually highlights Mavuika's perseverance to save Natlan and its people, but it also shows the weakness of humans, which you can see from her slowly dulled eyes. We know that this was Mavuika's plan and that she had to sacrifice all of Natlan to save it in the future, but to carry all of Natlan on her shoulders, as well as riding on a sports bike of all things, is a monumental task, something that a mere human can't do, even if they possess godlike powers. Passing through the same road seemingly endlessly for 499 years, only to stop at the final year and think that all is lost and that everything is hopeless. This is the clear weakness that humans possess, the emotion and feeling that you might have lost it all in vain. And we all know how anxiety can build up and make you lose hope. This is more deadly for Mavuika since right behind her is the night, the dark abyss that she has to keep running from until her time, or worse, her power as an Archon runs dry. You can see her hair start from yellow like the sun to an orange like the sunset, which you can clearly see as she loses hope. Her eyes get darker and dull while the darkness behind her slowly creeps up as years pass by. The only thing holding her together is her sister, Hine, and her words of encouragement to keep moving forward. If you've noticed, Hine started appearing only after Mavuika pushed past a few hundred years, and only appeared more frequently as she gets closer to 500 years. Meaning Hine was there at that same bench since the beginning, she just couldn't appear because Mavuika's mission only started and Natlan was just freshly recovering from the war. And now in the year 499, where Mavuika almost gave up under the guise of a rest, feeling lost, Hine was there to give the final push to break through the 499th year and push through the 500th year, where she finally fulfills her mission and breaks the cycle along with the help of the Traveler. 5.3's flagship event, Tao Dou Sanctification, is going to be about the funeral parlor and probably some new lore about death and the afterlife in Liyue. It is said that during the Archon War, there was a divine mountain found in Liyue that had a giant tree called the Tao Dou, and souls who commit grave sins wouldn't be able to pass beyond this tree and into the afterlife. Only through a secret rite performed by those in the Changsheng funeral parlor could help absolve the sins of these lost souls. Interestingly, the tree itself has the same name as Xiuhcoatl. Even though her last name is Hu as she is Director Hu, the name Tao is still related to her and the parlor. Her father might have named her Tao in honor of the sacred Tao Dou tree, and her grandfather would also have deep connections with the tree as well for being the previous director. And Xiuhcoatl was very close with her grandfather, becoming the new branch director after his grandfather's death, performing the rites for him. Along with departing ceremonies, there's also a secret art performed by the Changsheng funeral parlor to help souls that commit grave sins and cleanse the filth within them. If you've played through Xiuhcoatl's story quest, then you would remember the same ermine soul-like tree at the end of the domain. This is that same tree where the souls would stay if they either still longed for the world of the living or had committed grave sins. This place is often called the border between life and death by Xiuhcoatl, where people of the parlor would guard it and guide souls into the afterlife. Farewell ceremonies for those who still linger, and purification and sanctification ceremonies for those who have sinned. But seeing as this event focuses on sanctifying the Tao Dou tree itself, we'll likely see a sort of corrupted tree that needs purifying. When Xiao lights up the Tao Dou tree in Liyue, the tree in the domain is also lit up by Xiuhcoatl, and as she finishes the sacred rite, we can see the statue of Homa right behind her. Now I'm sure you're familiar with the Homa symbol, so I urge you guys to watch Ashikai's video about it, since she covered various things and special rites relating to the Homa symbol that I myself cannot explain to you in better ways. But it's very likely that there's multiple places within the game that function as borders between life and death. The Night Kingdom in Natlan and the Tao Dou tree in Liyue, as well as the Sakura tree under Inazuma are some examples, functioning as places where souls go right before passing away completely. The Windrise tree in Mondstadt and the Erinese tree in Fontaine could also be similar to the Tao Dou tree. And of course, we've also got the Ermine Soul, possibly somewhere beneath Sumeru, and is greatly connected with the Dendro Archon, Nahida, whose sole job is to connect and take care of Ermine Soul. Now, if I were to make a guess, the Ermine Soul and Leylines are where these souls go, specifically their memories. But as for the other parts of their soul, I can only go back to what Skirk has to say about death.
To live in itself is a blessing. But once a person dies, the bonds he once had with this world shall all turn to curses.
The game hasn't really had more explanations regarding what happens after death in Teyvat, so we'll probably get more information and lore about the borders in Teyvat from the event. Next, Zhongli has some Mora now, but it's actually not real Mora. But a dragon holding a new form of currency does imply the change in eras into that. A change in era that doesn't require the fall of civilization like most others. We see many other civilizations that fell to rebellion, catastrophe, and even intervened by Celestia, but this current generation were all through gentle passing of the torch to the next, much like what happens with Natlan. And then we have the newest character, Lanyan, who isn't from Liyue. She's from Chanyu Vale and a descendant of the ancestor of the Lan family. No, not that one. She's from the Artisans and Crafts Association, and she'll be the one helping us with the funeral rites, likely the Qimeng divination, which will help Xiuhcoatl purge the fetter of the Tao Dou tree. Moving on, Citlali's job is quite similar to Xiuhcoatl's, and that she's very sensitive to ley line changes. As such, Citlali is a great and knowledgeable shaman from 500 years ago. Her experience with the effects of the abyss is unmatched among even elders and chiefs of the Nightwind tribe. We were only able to see the first 2 parts of the Nightwind Chronicles, and it's already focused on leyline disruptions, shamanic knowledge, and the gifts of spirits phenomenon, and the special dyes used for graffiti in the quest. And that's not to mention the story of Kuntur, who was once shunned by his people due to his father's grave sin. The quest also delves into Citlali's understanding of memories and history, so it very much fits with the Nightwind tribe's trouble with spirits and leyline disruptions. When Citlali mentions true loneliness, she might be talking about Kuntur as well. Along with that, the special program calls it a more intimate understanding of Citlali. Her constellation is Patina Alavatlaka, which is Latin for the Anahuatl disk, meaning the Stoneheart mirror or the Obsidian mirror constellation. Obsidian is a key material within Natlan and is present in various quests and materials, as well as dragons. So we'll likely find out the history of this obsidian through Citlali's lore and quest as well. Funnily enough, there's a third hermit and eccentric within the Nightwind tribe, the wayward hermetic spirit speaker, waiting in her lair for adventurers to challenge her colorful woven scroll trials and graffiti. Her design reminds me of the disciples of Sanctus Medicus, and that she's actually the first normal human boss in the game. Her ascension material drop is the Talisman of the Enigmatic Land, which likely has lore about the Night Kingdom, or if we follow recent events, the Mare Jivari. I'm leaning towards the Mare Jivari lore since it's actually a miniature Night Kingdom created by the hero Sanhaj Kompore, who, if you could remember from the animation, fell to the abyss along with Tenoch 500 years ago. Yansan and Varesa come from the Collective of Plenty, living in volcanoes, which is likely this volcano here, named Mount Tolan. Their tribe is named Teteokan, and where the big shield-like Saurian Tatankasaurs are from. Now, we don't see the Tatankasaurs in Mavuika's story quest, so we'll likely get the Collective of Plenty in the next patch instead. Following that, we've got 7 new characters coming in the future. These are all likely 5-star characters that will be released until the end of Natlan and maybe the start of Snezhnaya in 6.0. Yansan, who is from the Collective of Plenty, Dahlia, who is a deacon within Mondstadt, Aoife, the veterinarian Saurian, Skirk, which means we'll possibly get a new element close to Quantum, this character here who looks like she's from Inazuma, particularly from Watatsumi, which I'm guessing is actually Tsumi. Props to anyone who can still remember that event. Varesa, who has horns similar to what we can only assume as the Tatankasaurs, and this terrifying yandere-looking character who seems to either be from Fontaine or Snezhnaya. Now, a Snezhnayan character might be likely here since we've been teased with the town of Nodkrai, a guild city which feels like it's filled with gangs rather than guilds. Based on Liben, there seems to be multiple guilds in Nodkrai and that he's been robbed twice already. There's also the Voynich guild that helped him out, but this is only because it's the strongest force there is. Interestingly, Voynich comes from a town in Poland, derived from the word Wojna, meaning war. There's also no proper law or organization in Nodkrai, so it's likely that only good and bad guilds that vie for territory are found here instead of something like the Knights of Favonius. And there we go, everything we know about Natlan's upcoming 5.3 patch. There's still a lot to discuss in detail here, but this video will be able to provide a perfect and concise breakdown, but it will also prepare you for the upcoming lore and story in future patches. So be sure to pack your bags with phlogiston and prepare for the final climax of Natlan. And if you haven't saved any wishes yet, I highly suggest you do, because the upcoming characters are gonna be worth every Primogem. But that's it for now. I'll see you guys in the next video, yeah? Like, comment if you enjoyed, subscribe and hit the bell for more of my ramblings, and stay mad theorists. Bye!